Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. How you doing, my man? How are you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. So we're gonna get rolling on this really quickly. Some basic housekeeping before we get everything going. So let's see what we got. So first and foremost, let's see, how's this camera quality look? Let me check. I think it looks all right. So yeah, first and foremost, we're going to do the basics, get the housekeeping taken care of. We're going to go ahead and go into our risk settings. And I want you to see that we have $1,000 daily loss limit, 6 trades for Top Step. We're going to lock the risk settings for the day. This is something I do on all of my platforms during the Asia session. Even if I don't trade it, I just get it done today so that it's good for 24 hours. Again, over on Top One Futures, you go to your settings. You can see contract limits, whatever you want to do, trades, and just lock it out for the day. So I'm good with that. Got that taken care of. So we locked out the risk settings on both accounts. We ended up, we'll do a little bit of a recap of what happened yesterday. We had a trade on stream, got stopped after the stream, but the trade worked and we made back everything plus some. So ended up 1,000 or so on the day. So here we are. Yeah, let's get into this. We basically reached our goal from yesterday. So I'm going to break down the trade over here on the Top One Futures account. So as you can see, I have my pen right here. We were looking for this area to fail down to the equal highs or equilibrium, sorry, from Friday's high as well. So basically the midpoint from here to here was about right here. And we got it. That was the trade we caught. I wanted this full target down to the daily fair value gap. That's what I was positioned for. That would have been, it would have been a hard hold, right? I wouldn't have been able to do it with size comfortably, but this was going to be basically a $10,000 target. So I had like 35 contracts in total for micros and it hit it. So the only position I'm still in a swing trade short on my live account, my cash account. So I'm swinging some NASDAQ, some futures contracts. So we're going to see if we could continue lower, but yeah, other housekeeping stuff. Let's see. What do we want to get into? We'll review a couple things, hop up onto, well, pull up Forex Factory in the background. And yeah, tonight, 1 a.m., Japanese yen has the Bank of Japan, basically, core CPI. So that's a news driver that can happen overnight. When you're looking at Asia session, I always recommend considering that we're not the only country in the world, the US stock market. And I also consider there's other factors at play. So yeah, Japanese yen, I use that sometimes. And so yeah, that'll be at 1 a.m. And other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Tomorrow, existing home sales at 10 a.m. for US. And it's pretty much PMI later in the week. So yeah, back to the charts. Let's see what we got right here. Close this out. Boom. Yeah, so back to the charts. We're going to get some levels going. Basically, here's what I'm seeing. If you're not in my Discord, I have a link in my description. There's a free Discord you can join. I post a lot of analysis in there, but I'll break down essentially what my trade idea is moving forward. Now, let's see. What do we want to get going? I want you guys to know also we will be doing very soon. We'll be doing some giveaways for our Top One accounts. Yeah, so we'll start that probably later in the week. Maybe Thursday we'll start doing something like that. So anyone watching this after the fact, just know that's coming. There'll be a regular thing every week. And from there, we are looking at the charts. Here's what I see. We'll get this nice and neat for now. That down. So this is like, try some of this music in the background. Right here, we have these equal lows. So my thought process is if we're going to be sweeping these highs, we could potentially trade down to these lows at some point this week. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So my plans for this stream are to simply monitor the trade that I'm already in, the swing trade for the short on NASDAQ, and then simply look to see if there's any prop firm opportunities I could take within that context. Friday low is going to be your first downside objective, and then you have this cluster of lows. That's really my concern. I like getting long, but like look at the structure. Can't tell. starting to change. Right? You have uptrend, uptrend. But the question is, when does this right here, so I make this a different color, when does this right here start to signify the shift in character? That's what I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking at to see if we're going to be trading to the downside. So over here, top one account, we're going to look at, this right here. Pull up our dual grid. Dual grid right here. I like to have 2 time frames minimum. On my other charts, in my background, like right here, I have other time frames as well. But let's see. That chart. Cool. Open flat, similar to yesterday where we're opening in this little pocket of just the prior day consolidation at the end of the day. That type of action leads me to believe that it might not be too exciting just yet, so we just wait. We'll look at some other markets, see what else we got. That's top one account, top step. So again, priorities every single day are going to be pretty similar. Let's see if I even have it. Right, it should be right about here. Have a banner. Boom. Every day, pretty much. I'm looking for setting my risk level, my risk settings, draw out some levels, and then I watch the open to see what's developing. We're already trading back down below the opening price, if you can see right there. And any sort of trade ideas that come along the way, we'll be more than happy to break down together. Yeah, look at this right here. Opening price right here for the day. Question is whether or not we break below it and hold below it. You'll notice oftentimes on any single session, the opening price can act as a form of resistance. Do I have a delay on my stream? I believe there's a delay on the stream. I don't necessarily set this delay on the stream though. I don't think it's something I can control. I think there's just like a default couple second delay, maybe 15 second. I don't know. Either way, I like to walk through the ideas. So this type of trade, you look to trade down to here or here. So it's 72 from 91. And the stop will be what? 06, 91, 06. 15-point stop, so maybe 5 contracts. Do I want to go for the opening range break? Maybe something like that or something like that. Go ahead and hop onto the 100 tick chart. Yeah, we just want to see if we could trade back down to this gap that we have. 60. We'll mess with it. Just looking for this opening range break. So we formed this little swing point. The highs. The way I see it is, you sweep out this little bit. If it's going to just be a quick continuation, we'll see it. That's kind of the idea. But obviously this can hold right here. I'm not too eager to make the trade work, but I am willing to try it. I'm willing to try the downside right here. To at least like this level, right? At least like right there. So soon we'll be hoping to get our own music going. We mix in some music on here while trading. That's the intention. Till then, we get some nice little theme music from the streaming platform. Really depends like what we're gonna do today. Really depends. I'm looking at this right here, this level that we broke through as a potential, that's like gonna be the swing point for the day, and we trend lower for the session. Obviously it's real early, so this opening 30 minutes can be really volatile. It can kind of fake you out. I'm under the assumption of how we closed that we're going to continue lower based on that. I thought the close today was pretty weak, right? Like we had this big move down today, and then we closed near the not near the low, but not near the high. We closed lower than we did. Like we were up here, last couple of minutes shot lower. So if we look at the 1 minute, you'll see, yeah, like look, this is 358. This is 4 o'clock, and we just dive it, So that's my underlying assumption on price today. Looking for a quick continuation, but obviously this thing can shoot up and it could swipe me. That's why I don't necessarily want to have a ton of size today on this trade, because it's a lower conviction play, but it is a directional bias type of setup. What was this one? Yeah, let me know if you guys are liking these streams. I'll always leave a like. This is something that's new to you, interesting to you. If you're learning something, if you like any of the themes that we got going on, we've been busy with the backgrounds and all that good stuff. Getting all that nice and neat, cleaning that up. So yeah, let me know what you're thinking. If there's anything you want to see, just let me know. We'll get busy on it. 5 minute, it's not the best, not the worst. We did sweep out this recent low. So if this is an area where it wants to hold as support and then rally, that's fine. But let's just see if it's got a little bit of juice in it. Trade down to some of these levels. I find with Asia, the first trade, you could kind of just throw something on to get a good feel of what's going to happen. I don't think Asia is necessarily the session where I don't have any losses. I'd probably say I have the most losses, or just trying something out. I like to sample in Asia. I'll try out a trade, see how it's going to play out. I'm willing to give it some room, whatever. Because for me, I think it's better to have, like, let's just say, we can even pull up our 15-minute chart. If I'm going to have a directional bias, right, which I think it's lower, I can give it more room to kind of wiggle, and then it'll kind of work. And that's what we saw last night. It just took some time. So that's our overhead area. This stop could technically be bigger. Yeah, last night's trade. We were initially trying to short, like in here, and then it just swept me out. But my final entry is right here, so that was nice. That'd be your final target. You're going for it for like the overnight move. Hard to say. There's not really any crazy news this week during New York. So it's one of those where I'm like, yeah, you could do some overnight stuff. Hey, how you doing, my man? Welcome back. Welcome back. So yeah, going over a little bit of what we're getting into. We're looking for the continuation. That trade we took yesterday where it was kind of sideways, it ended up stopping me, but I got an entry again pretty much at the point of getting stopped, and basically ended up making 600 profit both accounts. So I was up 1,200 net yesterday, which is nice. Nice little cap to the day. I also have a already 1:17 a.m. Yeah, look at that. Night owl. So I think this stream will be a little more busy than last time. I do think with that CPI for Japan, I do think that's going to play a factor, especially closer to that 8 o'clock time Eastern. But yeah, I think it wants to go down for sure. I agree with you there. I like these lower levels. I'm just kind of mapping out stuff where it could go, but I'll take profit wherever it makes sense. So yeah, our short was right here. I got pretty much all the way down to here. Did not hold through any of these besides my live account, my cash account. That one I'm still in. I'm swinging it. Yeah, it looks like we're seeing some bearish development. Again, to me, maybe for the end of the week or something, I like that 780 area. I really like the area down here. I just don't think we have enough room to get there today. You know what I mean? I think that's one of those where it's going to take some time, but that's my level from the daily. And just to show you what I'm talking about, I'm looking at this. This is what I like from the daily chart. So I'm going to kind of look to trade back to here. And I think that's where the most edge is going to be. It's in trading towards that higher time frame drawn liquidity. So I like these. Like, that's my goal for the week. Do we look on the weekly chart? Yeah, I think we could do that. I mean, think about how much we've been going up. I also have this weekly gap down here. Over 100 tick chart. I do think the 100 tick chart's a little more active today, which is a good sign. We'll compare. Yeah, it looks like the 100 tick chart's printing more candles. So that means there's more volume, in my opinion. I believe we set the high of the week already. If you guys want to double check this right here with me, I believe personally that this is going to be our change in state. These up candles right here. I believe this is going to signify the change in state, the reversal. So I'm looking to trade some sort of continuation leg. And obviously, when you look at the higher time frame, you can for sure get wicked out. But if we do decide to go based on this opening range right here, this opening range break, then we're good. But leaving stops over here just to let it wiggle if it needs to sweep, whatever. Bias is lower though for me. Bias is lower on a day like this. Absolutely. I feel like it's a pretty clean read compared to what we were seeing yesterday, just from the higher time frame context. Notice we already have a much different VWAP than yesterday. VWAP sloped down. Yesterday was pretty flat the whole time. I don't want to add. I don't want to add to the trade. So we might add. We'll see. I'm just gonna put targets kind of wherever. I don't really care. When price starts to reject at a specific area, yeah, I'll look to reduce. But I'm just going to kind of put targets wherever. Again, rejecting out of that bearish fair value gap. Our close on Friday was pretty weak in our opinion. I'm sorry, the close today was pretty weak. So this close right here, closed near the bottom of this consolidation, middle of the consolidation, and didn't really reclaim anything. So we got short on our top one futures account as well. Gonna give it a run for its money. And ultimately, we also have this position as well right here. This is going to be our breadwinner, I think. Personally, I do think this is going to be a good entry. But yeah, we're short 2 accounts, basically. That's the count right now. Now, our goal is just to let it work. We're not in a rush to move it or anything. A lot of times you can really create a lot of headache for yourself by just doing too much in Asia. Asia is supposed to be for those either range fades or loose directional plays, meaning I expect it to go down. Not immediately, but I expect it to go down. That's my underlying motive, is seeing lower prices. So 100 tick chart, look at the 5 minute. Pull this up, of course, so we can start to see these lows right here. The idea would be for us to trade lower. Five minutes till the 30-minute candle closes. I'm always cautious on the candle closures because they can signify turning points, especially for the hourly, the 30, and then the 4 hour, of course. So this would be, this vertical line right here would be our 30-minute marker, our opening range, if you will, from here to here. We'll also do the 7 o'clock. So to us, it looks like we're trending lower below the opening price. So we'll notate this, open. Yeah, that's what we're working with right here on the 1 minute. You know, of course you could grab the top, but for us, I'm seeing this failure right here as a reason to go lower on the session price action itself, not the higher time frame context. Higher time frame context has been laid, and we'll continue to go over that and evaluate its validity. Here we have, again, we had our failure to go higher here where we were anticipating this short to happen. I was expecting this level to get ran today. And now I personally believe we are on the backside of this move with this signifying the change in state. So anything here should be pretty free game, right? And we'll kind of just see what we can do tomorrow. If tomorrow can actually trend lower, then we could be in a pretty good spot. But I do want to show you some higher time frame levels. So we do see this, right? This daily candle closed bearish with a long bottom wick. Tag this gap. To me, it reminds me of an opportunity over here, like this. So in the past, we had this one scenario where we reached into this fair value gap, reached into this fair value gap, and you saw a long bottom wick and a close. My assumption is we could potentially see lower this following candlestick. That's what I'm looking for. Now, you know, historical analogs aren't always the end all be all, obviously. But like, again, when you have this rally up here, this is what we were talking about yesterday, this giant push, and then you get that dump on FOMC. To me, it's very symbolic or representative of what we're doing now. That versus like this versus this. To me, it looks very similar. Okay, further confirmation of our direction is being shown. We keep seeing lower prices. And we'll continue to hold as price develops. Here's our timing windows. Right here. Bottom wicks, yeah, they could be scary. Yeah, this could be indicative of a reversal, but I'm okay with this idea of kind of wiggling around. I believe it's the 15-minute, the hourly, the 4 hour that's going to drive it lower. not the 1 minute, personally. Yeah, 4 hour looks very bearish for NQ. I'm gonna go ahead and share that with you guys. This is what I'm seeing on the 4 hour. Looks pretty heavy. Now, what do you guys think? What are you typically looking at? What are you typically trading with? I'm showing you all my tools. Hopefully, some of this stuff is insightful to you. If you're learning anything, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. I'll make these a more regular thing. As you can see, Asia streams have been more regular for me because I know that people are enjoying them. So I'm going to keep doing them, just sharing my perspective, sharing my thought process, and hopefully sharing something that you could take and use for your own trading. Okay, we're approaching that 30-minute marker that we've been talking about, that opening range, if you will. And we have seen a trend lower. So equally, we've went above initially, and now we're below. I'm going to watch right here to see what happens. It can very well run for my invalidation. However, it can easily start to push lower as well. But time is going to be the element that I'm considering the most when it comes to all this stuff. What happens at 30, what happens at hour, what happens at 4 hour closes. So this 30-minute changeover has been a little slow so far, which is okay. I don't mind it. I'm going to show you my 4 hour chart right here really quick. We're all on the same page. Let's get this nice and neat. Here's where I'm at on the 4 hour. So it's the hold below this prior swing right here that I'm interested in. I want you to look at a couple levels though. I want you to look at this right here. You see that? Like we tested, went above, and then now we're starting to invert. And then I also want to be sure to notate this bearish gap right here. So to me, 4 hour structure looks abundantly weak. I'm seeing lots of bullish levels getting invalidated and the respect starting to occur for the bearish levels. I would also notate this right here simply as a change in state. So we'll go with that, and we'll actually just probably reduce this little level, clean it up, make this little dotted line so we can see that it's a shift. And then this one, we're going to make maroon. So that's our change in state. And then here's our bearish fair value gap that we're respecting. Question is, will we trade to these lows? That's what we want to be thinking. That's our target. And then this is our end of week target down here, ideally, in my opinion. So back to the important stuff, the execution. Price is moving in our favor relatively aggressively. We're in 2 accounts as well. So we've added to the position both top 1 and top step express accounts. It's moving well. I do want to see 2300 basically. I would say 2300 would be a good level to set alerts. But I do think this is a trade that could kind of keep bleeding. So I'm not eager to take it off at the first target. You know, we did just hit the first target, of course, but we bounced pretty aggressively. It doesn't really give me time to decide what I want to do. Remember, a little bit of a retracement is completely normal in any sort of downtrend. We need these bounces to happen for them to be sold off. If it's too one-sided, it could be a pretty big reversal. So it's better if it's a little bit jagged on the way down, a little bit of a slow bleed. But the lower liquidity of Asia does create it makes it a little more complicated when it could kind of run high. It could literally run this in the matter of 5 minutes. That's just a byproduct of low liquidity. But we stay true to the thesis. We trust the higher timeframes, and we just continue to stay in alignment with that underlying narrative that we've kind of crafted. over here. That's our 4-hour structure. This would be our change in state, in my opinion. So over on the right, we have this sweep right here as well. So this is basically my thesis. We're starting to see that reversal after that uptrend. Higher highs, higher lows, sweep, invalidation, continuation through here. That's how I'm looking at it. So we'll keep this as a reference in the background, and we'll just swap back to it whenever anyone's curious on what we're doing. 2 accounts up 70, 115. So up almost 200 bucks on both of them combined, but that's not anywhere where we're looking to take profit just yet. Low of day, we were up 182, and we're just looking for somewhere in here, maybe, right? Maybe even just prior day low, really. We could trade down to here, that'd be okay. We could trade down to here even, that'd be okay. But we'll be conscious of what's going on here, because it is just ramping after testing a low. Long wick. So this could easily just run for us. Yeah, see, it's starting to push. So we're gonna be cautious here. We have VWAP right here. VWAP's in a sloped downward trend line. This shows me that volume's happening into the lower levels. It's showing that there's actual acceptance, if you will. Otherwise, it'd be relatively flat. It's being pulled pretty consistently. Strong candle right here. Strong candle. We're going to be watching for any sort of bullish gaps to get formed to then potentially see them get inverted for a continuation move. VWAP in proximity, we're about 5 points off VWAP at this point. So yeah, we just continue to kind of wait. We let price kind of do what it's going to do. And yeah, there's not much you can do there. That's kind of the structure we see at play. So it's pushing back towards break even, but you know, it needs to bounce to some extent. Where are we at in terms of price? We're still below the opening for the daily, and we have not invalidated that last swing high right here. So once we start pushing through that swing high, then it's a potential for it to be changing character. Look, the downtrend, then now breaking to the uptrend, higher lows. However, we do have that gap we talked about. So this is what we want to be talking about in like moving forward right now. Trading is really about how you're looking at things. So I want to make this pretty clear. We'll go through this right here. Make it real big like that. Okay. Down. So when you're looking at a setup like this, and you're seeing this little bullish gap get made, and maybe it's tested, maybe it's not so far. It looks like it's about to do it right now. You have to ask yourself, is the formation of a bullish gap enough of a reason to trade the long? It could be if your target's narrow enough, right? But to me, when I'm predominantly looking for downside and I see something like that start to occur, I'm going to be a bit hesitant, right? I'm going to be a little bit hesitant towards this trade idea. I'm going to think that this gap could be setting up to just then invert, because if bullish gaps are forming in a bearish context, they should serve as an inversion. That's what I'm going to be keeping in mind. I'm not negligent to the fact that I could get stopped out, but I'm willing to maintain my thesis, my bias, and look at this in a different way. Instead of it being a reason to invalidate it, I want to see price then prove itself through here. So if that does not happen, then I can start to understand, okay, now we're looking to potentially stay on the buy side of now this curve right here after testing this level. It could be a mini market maker model in that sense. But The formation of a gap in itself isn't enough context. The level adds a layer of context that creates it as a stronger idea, but by itself, it's not enough. So I'm always wary. I don't just buy a gap because I see a gap. Our thesis is we're rejecting the 15-minute level. So you can see right here. This 15-minute candle now is adding a little bit to the bullish scenario, but the idea is still that we're rejecting that bearish gap right there that you can see. So get back to the regular grid here. What's up? There's your 100-tick chart, your 1-minute chart. I would potentially be considering an add even, you know, that would be something you could potentially do. Let's see, what can we do that's good trading? Maybe we add one on the break below and see how our risk is $165 right now. We're going to do our best to add one contract on the break below this inversion gap. And then we will trail our stop to be equivalent to the $165 loss we would have if it loses. So we're going to essentially use our open profits to allow us to establish more equity in the position. Buying one right here will slightly skew my average. It might drop from 88 to like 85. So then 85 to 205 would be my new stop distance. So I'd probably move it to like under 200. You're seeing it respect it right here. We could easily do that. I could run for view up. But if it does decide to fail, which I believe it will, then we'll be able to add one position for then the new low of day to be made relatively soon. There's your midpoint. You can even do it like that. If you do just the gap, you can see the midpoint touch the, or price touch the midpoint. I'll actually go right here. 78. Free couple ticks. So if this adds, then we'll be good. Still holding that midpoint for now. Here's our tick chart coming through. So we see these two highs, that swing point right here forming potentially for us to then trade lower. Still holding the midpoint. There we are, we've added. So see how this order is now 219. If we move to right here, now our average loss is still going to be less than our initial position. Our initial risk was 165. We added and then trailed it now, so we're going to only lose 153 if this invalidates. Better trading would have been me adding on the other account as well. Frankly, I didn't really think about it until right the second, so kind of my bad. But yeah, so far we've added 2. I'll go ahead and put executions on so you can see them. Maybe make them a little bit lighter. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. We'll just make them dark. 2 entries so far. 2 entries. So we added at 88 and then we added one at 78. So we did less on the lower entry just because prices traded lower. So we don't want to skew the average too much. But it appears we're still in profit, obviously. Trail is now reduced a little bit. So you would make it like that, under 200, like we said. Back to our levels. As you can see right here, we're looking for, we want to see this act as an inversion. However, price can absolutely undercut a gap and still hold it. That's fine. That's why we don't need our stop right here, because it can technically run for us. It could stop us out up here. That's fine. But we're willing to give it a shot on the assumption that this is going to be a continuation of our initial idea. We just need to be able to be making new lows relatively soon because we don't want to start to go sideways for too long. So yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys think of these types of trades. Is this something that you're familiar with, using these levels, these gaps, these displacements as areas to add to a trade? Let me know what you're typically looking to do when you're trading. How are you normally adding, uh, scaling in, scaling out? What's your approach? So again, in both accounts, we have our top one futures account right here. Links down below, discounts available. You can get instant funded with top one futures, skip the eval. But I always tell people trade what makes sense to you. I have many prop firm accounts. I have a cash account. I use everything for a different purpose. I'm not gonna tie up a lot of my personal funds on futures contracts. I'd rather trade equity. I'd rather be able to swing trade stuff. I'd rather trade options with my cash accounts. But as far as margin goes, I don't want to have to tie up, all that capital to trade, let's just say 35 micros, especially if you want to hold anything overnight, like good luck. So I'd rather just do that stuff with prop firms, and then stuff that I want to trade for like options or swing trade, I'll use my cash account. If you're just learning, definitely start with a demo. Definitely start by watching people. Don't risk anything if you don't have a good idea of what you're doing to make educated decisions. Remember, I'm just someone hanging out with you. I'm not saying I know what's good or bad. I'm just showing you how I go about trading, and you can make your own informed decisions from that. But this is just entertainment, a little bit of laid back trading. And we're seeing potentially very soon this market structure shift right here. This break of structure to continue lower. This is what we wanted to see. So that's why we added to this trade, guys, because we expected this bullish gap to get walked through, just like we were saying. So yeah, 3:46 my time, 6:46 Eastern. We are now just continuing towards that hourly, that new hour. We have 15 minutes, essentially 14 minutes. But our goal was to see new lower lows be made. We would love to see that very soon. To us, NQ is moving much better today based on the tick chart, seeing more transactions come through. So we want to see this make a new low. And then from there, once we do make a new low on the day, if we can close down here, we will in fact actually begin to trail this towards profit. But not until we make a new low, not until we break this structure right here. That's when I will want to take off risk. With Asia, it really does benefit you to just leave your stop alone for as long as you can. If you need to tighten your stop super tight and you think it's like New York, you're not going to do yourself any favors, because it can stop you out and still work and nothing ever changed. So remember that. Here we are. We're seeing more downside push. Let's get this. Let's see a new low a day. If we get a new low a day, you got to leave me a like. That's the rules. Not because I need it, because YouTube needs it. If you like these streams, you got to leave a like. It really does a lot for them. It really does get this in front of the right people who are maybe interested in learning how to trade, maybe someone with similar interests to you. And that's ultimately how these things grow. Remember, I'm just trading. This is just me doing this for fun. It's easy for me in the afternoon. I know for a lot of you guys, it might be late. So nice little evening entertainment goes a long way if you leave a like. Cool. So we just continue lower and just enjoy this nice warm summer afternoon. You're seeing right here lower highs be made, and ultimately you want to see lower lows continue. That's market structure. You can see this, and I show you guys all the time on the 15-second chart. You think I'm crazy, but really I'm just trying to show you like fractals of price, trying to show you swing highs, swing lows, and how that looks versus the bigger candlesticks, like the minute, 2, 3, 4 minutes. These are just micro structures. 15-second chart is really a minute chart. Just the candles are broken into 4. So you see more bends in it. It's more detailed. I wouldn't say the patterns or the candlesticks are too indicative by themselves on a 15-second, but swing highs, that matters. That always matters. That will always be important. But trading a pattern on a 15-second, that's where you get into trouble. Having an ultra tight stop on a 15-second, that's where you get in trouble. You're better off just looking at the structure itself and seeing if you could determine some sort of change in character. Maybe you see a flag right here. Maybe if it breaks this and forms a higher low, then we're running for my stop. But overall, yeah, patterns on the lowest time frames, they're negligible. Remember, we're trading the 15-minute. We're trading the 4-hour. We're just monitoring it on the lower time frame that we got in on. You know, this is our 4-hour chart. Or actually, you know what? We can just scroll back to TradingView. This is our thesis, guys. Remember, our thesis is this change in state up here. We're looking for this potentially overnight move here, and then maybe end a week down here. I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with that trade. Here we are approaching new low of day. You see both accounts were approaching new low of day. So here we are at new low of day. We just made a new low of day. So if you have not already left a like, please do me a favor for YouTube, leave a like, maybe drop a comment. Tell me what you're thinking so far. Tell me what you think about these types of moves in Asia. And yeah, let's just keep the conversation going. The YouTube algorithm needs the likes, apparently. That's what I've been told. They say if you don't get the likes, nobody knows if anyone likes it. So you got to just leave a like, get people in here. And yeah, we just keep the show going. So yeah, here we are. Tag low a day again. We essentially formed, I'd call this just a sweep so far. You see the 30 seconds, a pretty big wick. The minute candle is probably going to be pretty crazy. Yeah, so this is where you could potentially start to consider, is this going to be a double bottom? Right? It can very well just bottom out here. You have 10 minutes, basically 9 minutes now until the new hourly candle opens. So we are going to just kind of hold tight for that. As you can see right here, this hourly candle is closing bearish. I would like this hourly candle to technically close below the most recent swing point right there. And then we could potentially trade in this next one. But right now, I'm not moving the stop. I want to see how, number one, right here, this is important. When you go into a new hour, any big candlestick actually, but when you go into a new hour candlestick, you need to give it time. You need to allow for, number one, for it to open. Number two, for it to form some sort of top wick. And then number three, let it go and try to displace. It might not happen immediately. But if I move my stop to break even and all we do is wick higher and we hit my stop and then it closes lower, I wasted that trade. I would call that negligence, because you have to understand every candlestick is going to have some sort of high, some sort of low, right? You have a swing here, you have a swing here. All of them have wicks. They have, you know, even this candlestick has a wick, and wicks are going to form early if it's bearish, right? To this top side, they'll form up and then it will close lower. So that means this has to happen first. That's the sequence. So candle opens. Here, we'll make this even darker. Candle's going to open. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. Maybe it'll wiggle. Maybe it'll go up. And then it'll close down like this. And the difference between these flat lines right here, that's the open and close. That's what creates the body of the candle. So we got to give it time. We can't just rush it because it's closing down here and immediately think it's going to need to run. We have to allow it to potentially come back to break even, maybe sweep out these highs, and then see if it's going to go lower. Because again, we're targeting something bigger, right? We want to see it if it's going to break, if it's going to continue this downtrend that we've determined exists. 15, not my favorite. 15's kind of wicking out. But fear not. You know, there's a million different ways to interpret this. It could be bullish, it could be bearish. Current interval only. Here we are on the minute chart, current interval and below. So here we are. So what we're looking like, double bottom. My thesis is that we are going to go lower, so I'm not too concerned with bullish signals. I do think these have a lower likelihood of working right now, just based on what we've done on the 4 hour. If I sound like a broken record, it's just because I know new people come in, come out, so I don't want anybody on the wrong page. This is what we're thinking. Gap, inversion, change in state, lower. Hopefully that helps. If you ever have questions on what the thesis is, just ask. It's been nice to see crypto start to leg up again. It's been a really sideways market for a while, so seeing some strength in there. It's overall optimistic, I would say, especially for tech stocks. So even though we are short, we're not overly bearish. Like I'm still mostly bullish. I'm still mostly long, but futures are technically a way for me to trade short-term oscillations in price, or if I'm using my brokerage account, it acts as a hedge, if you will. So now you're seeing us start to reclaim this gap. This is an interesting development right here. We'll go ahead and look at this on the 15 seconds so you can see if there's swing points forming, right? So if we are, again, let's go ahead. We can even make this bigger for you guys right here. If we are starting to like sweep out a low and then make a structure break to the upside, and then we start to develop some sort of higher low right here, that could be then the end of the trade. However, it can just stab up and just kind of fade. Both things are completely reasonable expectations. I'm personally more on the side of thinking that it'll just fade. I think any pops will fade, maybe back to VWAP, maybe back to daily open. However, I just think they'll fade. And remember, that's why our bet's so loose. Our bet is that we go lower before making a new high of the session, basically. So that gives us the room to be kind of wrong. You know, we're not betting on timing of it. We're betting on directional move, lower. We want it to go lower. So it could take some time, let it do its thing. Remember, we're in this downtrend still. We could potentially start to, do this to then break. There's a number of variables and different nuanced reactions we could see. Tick chart does look kind of bullish right here, though. I will say that. In isolation, this does look bullish. Minute chart, not too bad either. But you don't get paid for flip-flopping. You get paid for having some sort of idea, having some amount of edge behind it, and then letting it play out. That's requiring you to get out of your own way. If I sit here and flip-flop, I'm never going to get any sort of move. You only make money if you're trading some sort of range expansion. If there's no range, there's no money. All right, so about 3 minutes till the hourly changeover, the new candle. Oh, it's okay, puppy. Yeah, we'll let the hour change over, then let the dogs out, and then we'll see what happens from there. But we'll cap the stream at an hour and a half. Oh, you're okay, puppy. We'll cap the stream at an hour and a half today. So yeah, we're starting to hold this area. Very interesting into the hourly close. Gapping above, kind of. Looks bullish right here. Looks bullish. Easily can start to see this trend reverse. See that? This formation, the sweep of the lows. we didn't get the close that we wanted, really. We didn't get the close that we wanted, so it's safe to say that this could be starting to either number one, change its character, or number two, start to put in some sort of manipulative move. Either way, my decision is already formed. I can't. It's not that I can't. I'm just not going to do anything different. I'm either going to take the stop or I'm going to let it work for new lows. That's personally where I find the most statistical edge, is being pretty stubborn with the direction. Because, you know, if I cut the trade here, I'm up $80, then I enter the trade here and I put my stop right here, and then it flops, like I'm now red on a trade that I was profitable in. Because I immediately thought because it went up a little bit, I was completely wrong. You can't just invert your bias and think you'll be right. It could go sideways. There's a million different ways. It could be a fake out. But either way, hourly candle is about to close. It's pretty bullish into the hourly candle open. So let's see how we actually do displace. We could potentially start to run for the prior candle high, which would then put our stop in jeopardy. However, I do think, again, this is like another change in state right here. You have this hourly fair value gap as well. Let's go ahead and get rid of this right here. Right. 40 seconds. But I do want to notate all of this stuff. This is what I'm seeing on the downside. Right here, we also have this one right here. I personally think is bearish. See about this high? Yeah, see about that. So there are a lot of bearish arrays. This one right here. See what I mean? It's just, to me, it's telling a story, saying that it's on the sell side of the curve, at least very early in it. And I'm of the opinion my directional bias is correct. Maybe there's some volatility that's needed, but we stand strong, guys. We do not back down because of a couple of price candles. Really no transactions coming through. If you can see this tick chart, it's kind of flat. Whole minute hasn't really moved. Here's our hourly candle. Remember, this is just the sell side of the curve we're looking at, in my opinion. So we have this bigger change in state. I'll make this like a 3, right? And we have these little order blocks. So my thought process is that any sort of rally has been getting sold off. We had this one right here. I was short. Then we had this stuff overnight. So I have a position from like 370 basically, or 360 right here that I'm swinging. But I'm trying for these futures accounts. I'm trying to see if we can get these down to here or something. Just kind of following this rotation in price. So you guys can see, if your guys are just coming in, again, this is the thesis. We're seeing some sort of overshoot of the range, some sort of change in state right here where it's that false breakout, closing below that displacement leg, to then trade back down towards some of these internal lows. None of them have been swept. Last sweep you had was like right here. Now you have all of this. Whenever there's a lot of this, it's easy. These are easy trades because someone had their stop here, stop there, stop there. And if no one's getting stopped out, then it's a free ride. So we'll look at the 1 minute chart again. Right here, yeah, you can see starting to push a little bit. Yeah. So as far as invalidation goes, you have the inversion of this 1 minute gap that we had. That's the only thing I'm seeing. This could just be a rally back to the opening price. It could be a deeper reversal, but our opinion is still formed. I don't like how we're flattening out here and how we double bottomed here. But again, it could just be a sweep above the range to then go lower. I won't flip directional bias. I'm okay with the $100 risk. So I put it on in the first place because I'm okay with losing $100. 150, 160, $200. That's perfect for this type of trade. All right, here we are starting to approach VWAP. So we have this prior low that we're now breaking through, right? We're approaching the daily open. I'm curious to see if we're just going to be sweeping some of the stuff out to then go lower, or if we're actually going to see a deeper reversal in price. So kind of squeezing a little bit. You don't love to see it squeeze, but again, if the hourly just opened, we do need to form a top wick. Here's our risk on the top one futures account. We're risking the swing high. Yeah, maybe we just make them the same stop so I don't have to think about it. So this was, let's see, 205. Maybe we make it 205 as well. Make them both the same. I get it. I add a little bit of risk here, but just for my mental sake, I would rather make them the same stop. So that way I know if I'm out of the trade. So 205 is our stop. We're looking for new lows. So any of these rallies, we're looking to expect them to get faded. To me, it looks like bearish structure. I think we're in a downtrend. I think this is rolling over. Any of these pops should be faded. Which actually is a good segue into what we can look at. If we expect these gaps to get faded, we did just form a displacement leg to the upside. Now the question is, will this hold? Do we have a 1 minute gap? Yeah, we're forming this 1 minute gap. I'll leave it on 1 minute. So 13 seconds, we close this gap. We sweep out some highs. So this is essentially the same framework I got short with yesterday. So 5. I would put this like right here. Maybe go a little bit bigger on this account. Premise being, if we do fail this displacement gap right here, we can add to the position. And if it holds, then obviously, you know, that's the true reversal that we're starting to see. I'm still of the opinion that we are just kind of rallying to fade, but you know, that's why I have my stop right here. Because I know I couldn't be wrong. That's where I'm okay with being wrong at. It is moving quick, so this probably will take the stop in like a candle. Really is kind of deleting that whole move, which it's unfortunate, but it's reality, you know. Sometimes this stuff happens. It would not be Asia without any sort of manipulation. Sweeping out these highs right here. Is that opening price? Alrighty, so we do have another upper gap on the 30-second. I'm going to keep monitoring these things. Start to see one of them really get deleted, and there you go. Two ways to trade Asia. You either trade on the wider stop and directional play, or you fade the range breaks, which that's essentially what I'm thinking this might be. I'm thinking this might just be an overshoot to then trade lower. But, you know, I'm not really adding all that much. It's just a couple dollars higher, really. All right, here we are. Maybe try to tighten this a little bit. Down 200 now. If that overshoot worked, then that'll be a really good entry. Look at that 5 minute candle. See how we've developed on that 5 minute? That 5 minute, if we close like that, that would be a crazy close. So now we'll just make both of these stops 200. They're both at 200 on NQ, 23,200. It is break and retesting VWAP, which is not the best scenario. Could be worse, but it's not the best. So now average is 87, then 85. Not terrible. See what the 15-second looks like. Just make sure I'm not getting baited. Do a higher high right here. Yeah, you have to be careful because it is break and retesting that structure. Yeah, they might just go for it. We'll see. Yeah, not the best. Not the best. It overshot it. It looked really, really, really solid. But then when there's no follow through, it's starting to shift my bias on it. So remember, we have most of our levels on this right here. So we're at the daily open. Idea is that we reject the daily open, stay somewhere in that lower portion of the range, swept out some recent highs. So we have on the 5 minute as well. 5 minutes still got some time. There's our tick chart. Let's see. There's our stop loss. Boom. It's a predicament, you know. I can't move the stop tighter because it can hit it. So my stop, if it's gonna get stopped out, it should be up here. Because I still need to give it room to work. But yeah, this is what I would consider the beginning of an invalidation of a trend. You had the double bottom where it swept the prior low, and you have a break and retest of this market structure shift location. So that's what forms that bottom. And then if you look at like the 15, for example, I do believe the 15 gave some stronger signals. Yeah, look at the 15. So it's not my favorite 15 minute when you get two pin bars like this, you know? So potentially, yeah, this would be a good area to close out. We're just going to let it work. Let it just run the stop because it's not all that much risk. I'd rather let it play out and not work than me force an outcome. Looked very strong. I don't necessarily think it's wrong idea for the day. It could just be early. Remember what we said about that 4 hour. So we're looking at on the 4 hour. There you go, again right here. So that 4 hour could push higher, the candle, and sweep out. But either way, I'm still showing you what I got going on. So yeah, look at this 15 right here. Trying to push for the stop. Yeah, look at this. So this is the thing with low liquidity. Sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes it just really starts to run on you. Yeah, I really just ate through that gap. There's no inversion there. It did not invert the 1 minute. So to me, this is kind of bullish. Kind of bullish right here. Yeah, this is your order block. Push higher. These equal highs. Ooh. Something like blew up out there. I think it was a firework. Guess we'll see. Yeah, what are you liking about that pair? That sounds like a pretty exotic pair. I'm not too keyed in on Forex as a whole, but we could take a quick glance at that. Pull it up on this chart. So you're super bullish on this for, let's see, what the weekly. I mean, to me, I see a bit of a range, you know, obviously, you know, we see an overshoot of the range. Overall, like, yeah, we're at the top of this monthly range. I mean, yeah, it's like, it seems like it's working towards the top side of the range. So for some sort of swing trade, potentially this is like the higher low to then run higher. I can see that making sense. Yeah, I'm just not super keyed in on a lot of that stuff. Okay. So So here we are starting to run for the stop. Let's see. Now, where do we want to? Do we need to give this more room? Guess we don't have a choice. All right, so now we're down like 300 and something bucks overall. We're starting to see some volatility though, so this is really important for you guys to see. See how it's starting to pick up on the tape? Like, look at this. This is actually really important because this is going to indicate what we could potentially be looking to do. So let me get this out of here. We have focus up right now, guys. Tape is really starting to speed up, so I do think some sort of news is hitting the tape. Look at that. See that depth of market right here on the side? It's jumping around like crazy. So there's going to be something we could do. We're not going to be reactive. We're going to just watch it. But yeah, see that? Look, that reaction. If you were reactive, you would have just made 20 points. So something's happening. If anyone knows what's hitting the news, feel free to let me know. Someone just said something. This is unfortunate because I do have a swing trade open. Okay, we'll watch this right here. Let's see what we did on the 4 hour. Let me just make sure I have a stop on my swing trade. 362. Okay, so ladder. I should probably put one at 300. See, that's why we use stops. So I have a stop at 300 on this. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna watch this. See, that thing just took off. That thing really did just take off. So now we're starting to get some interesting markets going, guys. Let's see what this is. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, good move on the long. Good move on the long. Yeah, we need to really start to see what's going on here. I need to see who's got the 411 on this. Deal with Japan. So $550 million investment, 15% tariff. That just hit. So Trump had some sort of deal with Japan. That's pretty tremendous considering that they have CPI coming up in a bit. Let's see what we're doing on this structure. Okay, so we've now swept. We have a news catalyst hitting the market. So this news catalyst is going to change my underlying bias for at least the short term, right? I do now want to start to be more selective with the area that I'm looking to get involved. I will mark out this right here. What's that 50% of? 50%. Oh, it's okay. I see. So now we're back to like that premium area of this previous range. Look. The fuck is it? Okay. Yeah, I want to be a little bit selective. So I'm going to try to like align with some sort of sweep of a high right here. I will monitor ES as well to make sure there's no SMT going on. So if there is, see ES, yeah. ES is more bullish, so it's taken out recent structure from today. Now it's into these bearish levels. Yeah, I do think we're starting to see an area where we could potentially start to look for a sell again. It's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be tricky because obviously when you get news like that, you can tell that was a face ripper. So I'm not gonna want to fade it too aggressively. I probably had to size down a little bit. Ranges look bigger. Interesting stuff. So we are seeing volatility come in. We are seeing volatility. Yeah, it's premium. Start to consider where we would even put a stop if we were to get involved in this. So it's still in this bearish zone. 5-minute chart. Yeah. We just have to be sure that it's not going to make a higher high right here. So let's clear up some of this stuff. So it's into these bearish levels. It's into this opening price. Closure above the 15-minute inversion fair value gap. Yeah, I mean, I do think this one, obviously this one's closed above. We have this one right here that might It's tough to say. I mean, what's the daily looking like? To me, this could just still be the sweep. Then we're just forming a top wick. I'm not super bullish right now. I don't think so. I would want to try to fade this. It's a question. But, you know, you don't fade stuff for the sake of fading it. It's not normally a good idea. We had a news driver, knee-jerk reaction, Trump $550 million investment or something like that. Tariff deal with Japan announced. ES doesn't seem to be holding all that well. Okay, so we're gonna watch how this develops. Volume's obviously higher. Tape was accelerating. We saw that. Happening. How can we look to fade this? 30, 60, 100 points. Let's see. 15. Just had to put our stop somewhere kind of further away. 65. 80. Fuck. Yeah, this is what you consider adaptation, right? So it's not about reacting. Obviously, sometimes you can. I had the inclination to think that we could run higher right here. So I could have caught 20 points. But for the sake of what we're kind of trying to consider, we're going to give it room to work. What's good, man? How you doing? Welcome into the stream. Welcome in. Right now, we're just kind of playing off some breaking news. So breaking news deal with Trump. What I saw. Yeah, welcome in all the way from Italy. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. So yeah, we're trading some NASDAQ. We're going to be watching to see how we develop up here. We do have an SMT with with ES. And to me, I do believe it's in an area where we're starting to see the downtrend of it. Could be wrong. You know, obviously it's a big push higher. It's a very big push higher. Looking at this box. Very true. Very true. We did kind of break and retest this right here. We swept below here. So that's where it gets a little tricky. My assumption is that we're going to start to see a rollover, but it's proving that this is going to hold so far, right? So I will kind of monitor this especially into that 8 o'clock hour. But yeah, we will just see how it goes. So we'll give this a second. Yeah, we'll give this a second. Very strong move. Very strong move. It's a solid trade. Solid trade if anyone's in this long, for sure. For sure. That's what this is what you consider just a breaking news trade. There's no way you can have anticipated this. We did talk about how we like this kind of structure developing, but there's literally no way to have anticipated this type of move. So it is what it is. We saw where the trade got invalidated, and ultimately we just got stopped. Got stopped near the highs right here. Our trade was good for a minute, but I'm not too sold on this. I've seen a couple of these recently where they just reverse completely, especially in this overnight session. Plus $300, yeah, that's how you do it. Walk away, take your money, wait for the next opportunity. Yeah, right now we're down basically 200 per account. See, boom. Yeah, 260, 130, so, or 140. It's 200 per account, average it out. Last night made 600 total per account, so 1,200. So I'm gonna monitor these highs. I'll be right back. Keep hearing a bunch of stuff. Okay, nice. Look, we're starting to see a rejection. Just shy of that swing point. Probably swept it on NQ though. We could try some aggressive fading right now. We could. I'm okay with it. We swept that one. Yeah, we swept something. Back at break even. Yeah, it happens. So we're gonna get creative with this. We're gonna try fading some stuff. I do like this. What, 40, 50, 60? Okay. 3 contracts. Stop at $200 or something. Real aggressive fade. Do I want to take it on both accounts? Kind of do. Super aggressive. It's a problem. So you can't really use too much size if you're going to do something like this. But it doesn't mean it's not worth considering. You can always look for a counter trend trade. You just don't want to see it hold like this immediately, because that leads me to believe it's just another higher low. These highs right here. Could do this. Clear the levels. Put this back on. Focus right here. So we have equal highs above us that we can tag. We have a bullish gap right here. So we give it room to sweep the highs. I personally believe this, an extreme move like this, especially from what I've seen recently, it has the likelihood to get inverted or just reverse. It's low liquidity. Like, this isn't indicative of like true buying and selling and perceived value. It's a knee-jerk news reaction. So to me, that's what I see. We'll let it rock. Focus up on top step, clean up the levels, adjust VWAP. It's an aggressive trade. About to close in on that 30-minute candle real soon. Again, let's see what we're looking like on our higher time frame. Yeah, we just tagged that 4-hour gap again. Here's our 4-hour. Here's our 15. Starting to fade a little bit. Here's your 1 minute. See the series of up candles, this big push. Starting to invert this gap. We'll see if we can actually ride this all the way back down. Again, you know this is a news-based kind of catalyst because it happened. There's no bottom wick, and there's probably massive buying if you look at the volume, the tape. So to me, this is mostly a manipulative move. So it doesn't have to hold higher. It can easily start to fade. Here's ES. Here's NQ. So to me, I'm seeing an SMT right here. Seeing a divergence where ES was going higher and then NQ failed to make that higher high. Just barely, but it failed. Right there. ES went well above. So to me, I'm looking at this as a fade trade. That's the premise. Here we are looking at the top step. Good entry in the wick. We're in the wick of this 15 minutes. All we need is this 15 minutes to close near here or lower in the 30 seconds, 28 seconds. And then we should have a okay chance at it potentially being rally, base, drop. I personally like to see when this happens. Not the weakest close I've seen. It's an okay close. Like, it's kind of bullish still. Barely tapped this low. Did not tap this low. We have this low right here. Predominantly bearish trend. It like wants to a little bit, right? You see it, guys? You see it kind of wants to go lower. You got these kind of swing points right here. It's breaking through. Pull up the tick chart for you guys so you can see what's happening in real transactions, right? So we're starting to see it's starting to displace from our entry. Looks okay. It's not great. Looks like it wants to go lower. So we'll give it time. You know, I'm not foolish. I understand this could be a sweep for the higher low and then it runs for my stop. But I'm okay with that. That's why I set the stops. That's the cool part. You get to choose them. Choose where you get to accept the loss, right? So both accounts, we have the top one account right here as well. Get back in our position. So notice the tape slowed down. That's the other thing I want to point out. All of this is slowed down. Let's see. Let's do a color. Like yellow. Yeah, all of this is slowed down. It was going crazy a second ago. So that's what leads me to believe that maybe the mania is done. By just looking at this time and sales right here, or not time and sales, but just depth. Typically, you'll get more than just the first layer of the book, so you can see all the open orders. So I gotta get that taken care of soon. But yeah, this is where we're at. Just the most minor SMT. It's really just a minor SMT. Minor, still in a bearish gap. Nothing really changed. It just kind of popped on hype, on news, on Trump saying something. So it gives us a better place to sell from, but you know, it's a little crazy. Put the target somewhere random. Remember what I was saying, guys, at the end of the week, this is kind of what I'm looking at for. I want to see this kind of get ran towards. I could be wrong, but that's like kind of what my bias is indicating for me. See what the 4 hour looks like right now. Yeah, 4 hour didn't really change. Notice that, guys. So if we go here, we pull up our 4 hour. Look at our 4 hour levels right here. Nothing really changed. We didn't break structure. All we're doing is kind of holding this area. Again, as you know, we talked about in the chat, they were saying this previous high, which is true. It's very true. But eventually, previous support levels have to break if the trend's going to reverse. So it's okay for it to hold. I'm expecting it to take its time. This is getting to the point where it's like, you know, above high a day, I probably can be out of the trade. I don't necessarily need to hold for a bigger stop, you know, so we'll debate that. Consider that as an option. Watch the 30-second as well. See it. So these little swings, I would want to see these act as order blocks right here. So from here to here, I want to see that act as an order block. Those little pushes. So when they break below, this acts as a resistance level. Now that we're kind of, you know, potentially head and shouldering, you'd want to see it hold below the neckline. All of this is a pretty fair game. It's very thin. Not a lot of action happened there. Why am I selling before the Monday shorts or sells are knocked out? Well, I mean, it's kind of simple. I'm assuming. Here's the thing. Not every single high of week needs to get ran out. I don't necessarily think we're going to trade above that per se. Like if you look at the 15, to me, if we trade back up here, I don't think we're going back lower. I just don't. So my thought process is the fact that we inverted this entire area, and I'm glad that you asked because I did put out a video on why I'm bearish. I just have to post it tonight. So I have it all filmed and I'll have it posted tonight on the YouTube channel. But this big fair value gap getting inverted, to me, it indicates a bearish shift below here, shift below here. So now my question is whether or not we could continue lower on the daily. Now that's my 4-hour opinion right there. Let's see if I can pull up my daily chart as well. Let's get, I don't know, 10 candles on here. So my next question is whether or not we are going to essentially invert this gap right here and then run below prior day low. I feel like there should be another candle. There we are. That's better. So right here, yeah, I want to see if we get below this low. That's what I'm looking at. That's my opinion, right? I could be wrong. I don't think we're going to trade back through Monday highs. These equal highs, I think these get left for a minute. We come back to it maybe next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But yeah, good question. Good question. The trade right here is based on the idea of fading the news. I don't think this is substantial volume. I don't think it's significant of development of structure. I think it's BS. So here we are. Obviously, you had a little flag right here and we broke out. And then you made a lower high. So you have that. And then now you have this kind of into that same area. It could be lower hiring, right? Lower highing, if you will. Or it could just be consolidating before the drop, which I'm assuming that this is going to be the break below. And then we start to trade into this. I would also like to point out from the swing low to the swing high, equilibrium would be around here, 213. So even if bullish, I do think maybe even a trade towards 200 would be okay. 213 really. I do think this is a good question. I see you have an XFA trade with 3 micros with 150K. I wouldn't say it's common because, I mean, last night I was trading with 20 micros, right? I was trading with 20 contracts. That was my position size. It's just the structure right here. This is just such an aggressive short that I don't feel like it's a good idea to get aggressive with size. Because it's an aggressive idea. Like, it's a really aggressive idea. So I'm fading this big push higher. So I'm going to just be a little bit looser with it. So I can, if I take a little bit of a loss, I'm okay with it. But if it moves, the downside, the potential to make money, it's going to be a lot greater because it is an extreme move. So it's like a rubber band. You pull it back and it fires just as much. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. I don't need to risk as much to still have a good chance to make money. But I do think this was an important comment too. Why selling before X, Y, or Z, right? Like, why do you do this before that happens or whatever? You will always notice this. So maybe people think your price needs to pull back to a fair value gap for you to get long. It doesn't. It doesn't. It gives you a good risk reward. It gives you a good risk reward. But like, if you think, let's just say this is a bullish setup, right? If you think price needs to go here, it really doesn't. It could stop right here. It could stop right here and it could keep going. The only reason we want certain things to happen, number one, is it gives us a stronger thesis, or number two, it gives us a tightened risk reward. For this setup, I'm simply looking at the overextension of this push, thinking if it breaks the highs, then I'm out. I'm noticing a slight SMT there. So for me, I don't necessarily need to see a trade back up to here because I know it doesn't need to come back up to here. We see many examples where that stuff never happens. Like if you go here, for instance, go here on the daily. Go right here on the daily chart. You can see right here, boom, like this day, the 17th of December. If you're like, wait, why didn't you wait for it to trade above the high of the week to then short it? It's like, it doesn't have to. You see, it could literally just break prior day low and then just go. This one right here, this day is a Friday. Thursday's a reversal, right? But like, you know, there's people who say maybe you need to wait for the prior day high sweep. It doesn't always happen that way. There's a lot of days where the inside or day opens inside the prior day range and breaks lower. So just because it makes for a better risk reward doesn't mean that it's inherently necessary. See where we're at. Yeah, starting to push higher. Let's go back to our 15-minute. Yeah, 15-minute inside bar. So nothing too exciting here. It could take a couple candles to kind of develop a top or a continuation. See what we're looking at the 100 tick chart. Ticks probably flying. Yeah, ticks are flying still. I think tick chart's really good right now. I think it's a really good chart to have open. Maybe the 2-minute as well. Let's see what we got. We know where the gap is. We're going to erase that. We know what this is. We'll just leave one little level. We'll just leave this little level right here. Just to give you an idea of like, that's kind of what the reason for the short was. Also this sweep right here. And also the SMTs. So but yeah, if you guys are liking this, if you like seeing the real-time breakdowns, leave a like. I know there's a lot of new faces around here. We've been just going under the assumption of this continuation to the downside based on the 4-hour structure for the most part. 4-hour structure, even though we had this breaking news with Japan, Trump, $550 million investment, and the tariff of, I believe, 15% announced about, that was at like 7:13 it was announced. So like almost 25 minutes ago or so. We saw a pop higher, but we're still in that bearish gap. We're still in the same consolidation. And I do believe our next move is more than likely going to be towards these lows right here. I could be wrong, but again, this is just me just showing you what I'm doing. Breaking down the real-time trading for you guys and ultimately showing you what accounts I'm using and all that good stuff. So if you like the stream, leave a like. If you're new around here, feel free to ask a question, introduce yourself. If you're trying to get funded, instant funding options, I have a discount code with Top One Futures. As you can see, I'm trading 2 accounts right now. I have my XFA and my Top One Futures account. So took a bit of a loss right here on the initial short when we had the breaking news. Getting stopped on breaking news, nothing you could do. It's literally breaking news. Overextension play, we're looking at this as the short. Just arrived. What are we trading? Well, we're looking at NASDAQ right now. Trading NASDAQ on 2 accounts. Trying to basically trade the overextension or hyper reaction to this news. We had a good entry. It started to see some movement, but now it's just looking like it's going to hold the higher low. Do I usually trade around the open or New York session? I trade both. I trade both pretty interchangeably. Right now, we're just trying this trade right here. I am looking for that overnight move. Like that was the premise of this trade. We had some breaking news, so obviously we could potentially take the stop again. I will say a lot of good commentary today. We did see the development on the depth of market. We saw the speed of it. We used that as a piece of analysis to know that there was some sort of breaking news in play. I was able to locate the news on Twitter as well. And that helped confirm that this is something that, based on how I'm interpreting the news, I don't think it's really all that substantial. I really don't think it's anything substantial, which is why I'm like more interested in seeing how this gets deleted than trying to be like, oh, now we need to go new highs. I don't think it's indicative of anything we didn't know in terms of like us as the market, right? As the participants. Still the same gap, right, that we're looking at. Guess on here I could draw it on the 1 minute. No cigar on that order block just yet down there. As you can see, you're starting to see more levels develop. So right here, you have a bit of an inversion as well. And that could potentially hold as a resistance. So not necessarily sold on this being bullish at all. I think it's a short, but I'm not trying to hold on forever. That's why I sized down here. As you can see, I'm in like 8 contracts total. 3 and 5. So I lowered the risk a little bit compared to what we were doing a second ago. And we're just going to let it work. Even just update this to the 1 minute gap, keep it cleaner. Really, any new high a day, the trade's done. That's how I'm looking at it. The SMT and the sweeps, it should be lower from this point on. Looks semi-bullish, right? Like you see bullish structure, but it, you know, patterns for the sake of patterns aren't anything. A pattern can be invalidated, right? It depends on the context. But I'm more inclined to think that this is just weak price action right here. Thin, if you will. News driven. So I want to see this get traded back towards. But I'm not all that confident. That's why I'm not sized up. I don't have a big stop. You know, it's just average, right? I think it's going to go back down. $15 minutes till the hourly candle closes, and we have the, I believe it's the core Japanese, Bank of Japan core CPI. So that happens, no, that happens in a couple hours, it looks like. So that's going to be at 1 a.m. Eastern. Okay. Asia session opens in a little bit, like the actual Asia session. So 15 minutes, I do expect to see some volatility. Hopefully we can cap this off. If we could trade below here on the open for Asia, then I'll be pretty stoked, because then we could kind of leave the trade to let it do what it needs to do. Then we can look to trade back there or lower. So we know there's a sweep. We can leave it on the lower time frame. And then here we can see there's just that SMT. Very subtle. I'm going to key it in so it's real clear. Very subtle SMT. As far as sessions go, yeah, I do trade both New York and Asia. So it really depends. On a day like this, I expected to see some early continuation from the sell-off and the close, how weak it was into the close. But, you know, this kind of news is breaking news. Nobody knows about this. Well, mostly nobody, right? So we want to see a break below this low to really signify that market structure shift, that change in character. Because right now, all we have is like partial shifts right here, inversion, lower high on the inversion, but this consolidation can be seen either direction. You can see this as a potential bull flag to trade higher. I'm personally going to assume the next 12 minutes are going to kind of stay in this candle. That's my best judgment. You can notate this gap right here, and then you can just kind of reduce it to this upper section if you want. So you can see that, like, visually, we traded into this area even today. So like you have this from the afternoon. So you have that sweep, and then this one, and then you have the lower high. So this could be the area where it wants to hold below, but again, it's not the strongest level. It's not the strongest. Under tick chart, let's take a look at what we're doing. So now we're starting to get a little bullish right here. Starting to see some higher lows forming on the 100 tick chart. We'll pull up the minute chart right here. Goal is to just survive the next 12 minutes because every hour candle will provide some sort of ignition, especially during these low liquidity times. So it is getting more bullish. Yeah, Trump's talking. Trump said that all deal with Japan could be the biggest in history. That's great. However, to be fair, Trump does say everything is the best thing ever and the biggest, and nobody's ever done it. Like that. That's just how he talks. So even if it is, I have no way of knowing based on if he's saying, like, he'll describe almost everything. It's just common for how, if you listen to Trump. Nobody's ever done it like this, bigger than ever. We have a president who will describe things like a rapper, which is I think it's cool. I don't know. I think it's funny. But yeah, he says everything's the best and the biggest and all that good stuff. Hard to say though. Hard to say. Yeah. So our goal for the next 10 minutes is just stay in this trade. Hopefully it doesn't break new highs, which it can. It absolutely can. But my goal is to stick around and just get that hourly candle to open, to then just wick up and then drop. I need to take a glance at that hourly candle. Yeah, I mean, I would like it to not look like this a little bit, but we rock with it. Asia has the tendency to fail things that look really, really, really strong. So just because something's displaced, it's not enough of a reason for me to think that it's ultimately bullish. There's been setups like this last week that legitimately rolled in complete way over. How did I come up with the name Decipher? So Decipher the Algo, pretty simple concept. Just came down to the idea of like understanding that things can be taken apart, right? You can break down pretty much anything. So when I started trading, I would just take screenshots of people's trades that they post on their story and just look at it. And I was always trying to rework it, trying to break it down, crack the code, essentially. But not necessarily like, I'm like, oh, this is some sort of thing that can be solved. It's more so just like the personal understanding of markets. So I knew that by just kind of picking apart something, you can learn a lot about it. And anything's an algorithm, right? Anything. Like if you understand code, anything's technically an algorithm. It's a set of processes, things one after another, if-thens. You can break down anything. So you break down the process of all of it. And that's kind of where I came up with that concept. Sounds cool, looks cool in my opinion. And it kind of just reflects on like my journey, if you will, or like my thought process in the beginning, especially. So here we are breaking new highs. It looks like pretty soon. Pretty soon. Let's see. Yeah, we broke that 15-minute high on ES and NQ both. Now it looks like we're going to maybe break the structure soon. Could be offsides right here. If this trade right here does not work, I'm going to assume that I'm offsides, and I'm probably going to just take a second and chill. Yeah, 2 XFAs, that's brutal. That's brutal. Definitely been there before. Definitely been there. It's really hard to gauge news, especially in this type of market where it's super thin. You always got to keep some. I would recommend using some sort of daily loss. If you watch the streams, my man, every day when I first get on, I put a limit from the amount of trades I could take and the amount of risk I can lose, like my daily loss. I do first thing I do on both accounts. I do it on my Express and my instant funded with Top One futures. That's just my daily process. So it's getting a little tricky, a little dicey. We're gonna kind of just see if we can tidy stuff up. Let's see. We're gonna stop right here probably. I don't think we're gonna make it to that hour mark that we want to. Let's see. Let's kind of just tighten this up. Start looking at some charts cleaner. All right, so we're right here. So we're at, let's see, can I adjust the camera? That maybe, I don't like that. I don't know. Yeah, it looks like this thing might want to run the stop because you're seeing these higher lows form. You have 7 minutes left. I don't think we're going to just hold under here for 7 minutes. This last leg really is kind of the icing on the cake for me to just be like, yeah, the trade's wrong. But yeah, there's nothing I can do right here. Sweep the highs. We're like 10 points above the highs, so it's like it's not that much range to give it. I don't think I have anything above that I want to risk. Let's see what I have. Maybe the top of this gap? Maybe? I don't know. I'm trying to be a little responsible. Let's see. This one 15. No, this one's probably gonna stopped. Yeah, maybe right here. It might just be giving it too much. But I'm trying to see if maybe I'm being a little bit greedy on the stop loss. Maybe it's a little too narrow. Maybe give it enough room to work, and then maybe we'll be fine. That's like my biggest takeaway with Asia is just trying to give it enough room. Because sometimes what you think's enough room for the stop is not. You know, like we can actually kind of break this down right here as it develops. I'm going to take away all these levels except this one, and we'll kind of walk through this. So basically what I'm seeing here is if we sweep this high, this could be just the new fake out right here. It could close back in this range, and then we could then trade back towards there because now we did sweep these highs right here. So these are neutralized. If my bias is bearish and we can close back in that range, then it's still a valid trade. It's much different than how I would approach New York. In New York, I don't ever really want to give things more room because, you know, it tends to hold the structure, but Asia can really kind of try to fake out. It could try to just grab that last stop loss. But even then, I'm not going to give it too much room. I'm trying to just give it one structure-based stop loss, which would be above this fair value gap completely, like right here. But again, it's like it could be vulnerable. It could need to just trade into here. I'm not necessarily going to give it the highs, but I try to give it a couple more points, you know, just for the sake of the trade. 4 minutes left, 4 minutes left till the hourly candle. We'll take the stop, and then that's pretty much where I'll cut the stream if it does lose, because we are going a little bit over what I said I was going to do. NQ's pushing. Trying to see if it's going to run out of steam. It's not my favorite part about, or yeah, it's like the worst part about counter trend trades is when it just starts picking up steam. Look at this, just printing. So not terrible. I mean, we made money yesterday after stream with that sell off overnight. So if we lose a little bit here, that's fine. Trying to give it a little bit of room, trying to be responsible. Because yeah, I think if anyone's in here shorting like me, a stop right here is perfectly reasonable. So if it just tags above it, I mean, it's a pretty low stress way to get a lot of people out of the trade. So three minutes left. We're holding on for dear life. So we have stop at 76. I guess we're going to make it 76. I want to make them pretty equal. I don't want it to be a different trade for both. This one's a little bit more size, which is understandable. Yeah, it's probably will run it. So 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes to hold 13 points lower. We'll see. Yeah, real persistent in this trend so far. So when you see this, what does this tell you? If it's going to be really strong into the invalidation point for me, it doesn't mean that I need to rush into another trade. It means just chill, let the market either continue to do what it's going to do or look for entry later on. Later, not like right now, later, maybe tomorrow. Because you don't want to take the same loss again. Better just to give it more room on the first shot than to try it 4 times. Minute and a half left. Really hoping we get that hourly candle to do us a favor. All we need is back in this range, and then the market structure changes a lot. You know, look at this 5 minute. Yeah, it ain't. I don't think it's gonna give it to us. I think it's gonna just go for it. How's top one? They pay you 47. Dang, Apex is on some crazy stuff. I feel like every single person with top ones had like it's been easy. Like it's an easy opportunity. They pay out quick too. Like Apex doesn't pay out really all that quick, but Apex also has a lot more people that fail evals. So it's, you know, It's like two different businesses, if you will. It's the same industry, but just the way they manage it. Top One's big on like, let's pay people quick. Let's pay people quick, not take forever. But I'm pretty sure at this point, almost every firm has people do some sort of like KYC, know your customer. Which, I mean, as stuff gets more popular, it's like, why wouldn't they do that? Because if traders are getting banned, they can't just put on the fake mustache or borrow someone's ID and be like, oh, I'm someone else. You know, so it kind of makes sense from that perspective. Rules are absolutely fine as long as they're not ambiguous. I agree. I 100% agree. Okay, okay, here's the hour. Here's the hour. Let's see if we get back in this range. It's just, you gotta like do the arrow, point down. Need like a sticker. There's a magnet. Here we are. Here we are. Come on, guys. Can we work together on this? Can we work together on this? I really, really need this to go back in the range. What else do we got? Do we have anyone have any like? Anyone have any pro tips on better emojis for this? It's kind of a new method for me. Maybe put a danger sign up here. Yeah, you don't go up here. It's dangerous, guys. Stay below this line. Stay below this line. Here we go. Now pull it down. Just pull it down. You gotta be kind of smooth with it. Anvil. There we are. Let's find that anvil. Found a brick. Drop a brick on it. There you go. A little heavy up here. What is my risk? Above highs. Yeah, I mean, my risk for the trade's above highs. I'm on 2 accounts at this moment. So you can see right here, I'm risking like $600 or something in total. Almost. Like $500. So we're starting to see the move we wanted, that we needed to. We got the magnet going. I think I saw a pickaxe in here. Okay, can we hit this or something? Just hit it down, hit it down, hit it down. Cool. What was this right here? It's the hourly rotation. Now, at this point, now it's like stop above the high almost, right? Because I feel like if we're getting to this point, don't mind me, just leave this right here. Cool, we need this. Keep us on autopilot, hopefully. Stops above the highs. It's above the highs. So we swept out these equal highs. I'm assuming it's going to retain the bearish structure. And I was really trying to wait for the hourly candle to close and open, essentially. So that's a new hourly candle. This is going to be your hourly open for the Asia session, right? So that would be Asia open. Bit of a retracement. It's still not really that impressive. I want to see it get back towards below these lows right here. What's the reason behind shorting an uptrend? Depends on your time frame you're looking at. Like, I'm not even joking. It really just depends on what time frame you're looking at. So if we go to my higher time frame right here, I'll pull up like an hourly chart. And in my opinion, I'm seeing it looks like a downtrend from that perspective. From the daily, it's still an uptrend. But from the hourly, in my opinion, I'm starting to see this as a shift below. And this is one of those lower highs, in my opinion. Now, the last 10, 20, 30 minutes or whatever, right? 40 minutes, yeah, it is an uptrend. It is, absolutely. It's that 1 minute uptrend, right? This was all news. This was all news. It ramped higher. We saw the tape accelerate. We saw the depth of market start jumping around. And there was a huge announcement from Trump about Japan, $500 million investment. So to me, it seemed mostly hype. I don't think this is substantial volume that's really happening there. So my belief is that we actually do fade this move and that it's just a sweep above the range for us to then trade towards the bottom side of this range. Because to me, you know, I'm going to pull up even the 5 minute right here. Yeah, we'll do the 5 minute or even the 1 minute like this, right? I'm seeing this as a downtrend. And you see this range is just sweeping above the highs. So personally, that's what I'm seeing it as. Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, I mean, there's a million ways to do this. I remember I used to be super like picky, like, oh, you can't short this. If this is a setup that's going to fail, like even if it looks bullish, if it's going to fail, because of the context, then it's a great short. You know, and that's something I had to realize. So with a move like this, I'll just enter somewhere here, right? And I'll give it risk above the highs. I was at like 290 or something. And then I tried it. So this is the second trade. We had one trade right here, got stopped on the news, and then we waited for up here. So yeah, we're not super eager to jump in front of like a, you know, moving train. But if it does provide some sort of framework, we're going to try it. But either way, you know, I appreciate you for asking the question. Come and check out the stream. We'll be doing a couple of these a week and doing New York as well. So if you enjoy this, leave a like. So yeah. Okay, so you get this push on the open for the hour, pin bar at the bottom somewhat. So the question is whether or not we're going to create the pivot. I think that's a 5-minute close right there. Yeah, 5-minute close is pretty good. We have that inversion right here. This is actually really good for us. So I do think stop at highs on both accounts is good. We're gonna go ahead and do that. So we are mitigating risk here. I think above highs at this point, I think above highs invalidates this short. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But we're seeing right here that we're starting to print lower. This tick chart's going pretty good compared to the 1 minute again. Remember what we said about tick versus 1 minute. If the tick is printing a lot more candles than the 1 minute is, that means there's a lot of transactions. Because typically in a slower market, they're 1-to-1. They're pretty close together, 100 ticks per minute. From what I see, right? This, we can see that 8 o'clock is right here, and this one, 8 o'clock is right here. So you can see that there's half the chart is candles on this one, and they're the same scale. That means that there's a lot more candles on tick than there is on the 1 minute. So we're seeing an acceleration in volume, meaning if we break through here, I mean, it could really cascade in my opinion. See, what's the stop supposed to be? 267. I'll do 267 on both. Exactly. Stop is 267 on both. So I'm risking 230. So I'll be down, what, $400 or $500 total if it doesn't work. But then this one, I'll be down like 300, 270. Yeah, 270 here. All right. We're approaching the final leg of the stream. Let's see if it breaks through here. If it breaks through here, we'll give it some time. But we're going to start thinking about wrapping up real soon. Appreciate everybody who's come through so far. Try to give my insight as much as I can. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. How long have I been trading for at this point? At least 5 years. Like, yeah, I mean, traded through COVID, traded like, you know, end of Trump, COVID, Biden, Ukraine war. Now, like, so I've traded through a decent amount of those events. Mostly options though, prior to futures, mostly options. Futures only last a couple years. I think it's a better product for most people. Options are great if you can be really, really, really tight with your risk, real controlled with your entries. Futures give you more flexibility to let the move work. Because like, let's say I got short right here, right? And then it went all like this and went up. My options would be at 0 if this was like New York session. So being able to have the opportunity to hold it really does give you some extra benefit. So sweeping out this low right here, want to see it trade through this low. Really, I want to see it lower low right now. That'd be nice. You can use line charts. You could use Renko charts. You can use all these different tools. So Renko, you're starting to see, yeah, look at that. Sideways now. So Renko is showing you there's a lot of transactions happening sideways. But Renko will show you what's the progression looking like. So you see right here is all sell side. Now sideways a little bit. It just basically showing you the number of like consecutive candles closing at a certain point. Bar charts are, you know, a little bit different. You could do candlestick charts are cool. That's what I prefer. So we see right here a little bit of a pullback. There's a 30 second. 30 seconds pretty close to the tick chart right now. 15 second. Yeah, just you see a lower low. So this right here is really the problem. If we can push up, we have to be mindful that we don't just run the high. We can make a lower low that gives us more confidence in holding this trade. 15-second, 100-tick chart, 30-second chart. Those all just give me sequence, higher highs, higher lows, change in character, break a structure. That's all I'm looking at. I'm not looking at candlestick patterns really all that much, but you can see there's edge. You can take some of these entries and make money. Maybe this is the long for them to trade high, trade to the highs. Sticking with our thesis, sweep above the range, looking for lower. 15-minute looks good. I feel like we should at least trade into that hourly gap, or not hourly, the 15-minute gap. Right. 5-minute, want to see a weaker close. All it did was sweep right here, like this. Come on, guys. You forgot I had a magnet. Let's go. Let's do this. We got the magnet. Pull out the 1 minute right now. Let's do this. Waiting for you. So break below here will be my order block. This would be an entry where I would add. Like I would normally add there. I'm not going to do it just because it's like my second trade. I don't want to waste all my executions, but that's a trade where I would typically add. Yeah, see? Come on. Magnet. Magnet to the lows. Let's go. Let's go. Tick chart looking good, though. What do you guys think? It's really accelerating. Come on, guys. See it. Want it close lower? Get that magnet going. Do it at an angle or what? This? Look, it looks good to me so far. Looks really good to me. I think this is okay. Still in the swing trade from yesterday. I did not get stopped out of that, thankfully. Yep, I'm still short from 362. So we want to see that continue lower. Okay. Here we are looking at this sweep of the low. Yeah, I mean, this is the last one. This is the last trade we're in. We're not, we haven't got stopped out of anything besides that first trade, thankfully. So this is literally the, so we had one short here and then one short here. That's it. So this is the last trade. Let's just get it to run. Get it below here so that I could go kind of enjoy the rest of my day. Like I tell everybody every stream, we monitor it to a certain extent. You know, like right here, I monitor this. I don't need to be actively trading it. As you guys can see, I don't move the stop really. So it doesn't matter if I sit here. I could go have dinner. I could go enjoy my day. I could go in my pool. I can, like last night, I was closing out my trades at dinner. Just watching on my phone while I'm eating some boiling crab. So right here. Cool. So we're starting to see the move that we wanted. This is the benefit of considering that there's another option other than shorting. I'm sorry, other than just buying every breakout. We're assuming that this might fade. And we saw the sweep right ahead of Asia Open. And now we're like starting to see it actually kind of give us some sort of confirmation that it's going to work. Sweep this low. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who comes through. Everybody asks questions, hangs out. It's supposed to be a pretty chill stream, and I feel like we're getting there. I feel like we're accomplishing that goal. I don't know why I moved this. Kind of just being fidgety. So 265, I'm pretty sure is what it is on both. No, it's 267. I was like messing with it. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, when we get a strong closure below this low, that's when the stop will get trailed maybe. But yeah, we'll wrap this up in about 5 minutes max. Hopefully you guys see that this market structure is starting to play out how we want it to. Lower high, maybe lower high right here. Let's see a push. Awesome, man. Yeah, there'll be more YouTube videos coming out soon as well. I got some stuff I got to edit after I'm done here. But yeah, glad you guys are enjoying the stream. All I can do is just share what works for me, what I've learned. Because believe me, I've got run over 1 trillion times trying to buy a breakout up here. So yeah, I think we'll just leave it there. So we'll let it work. I'm gonna go chill out. We've been on here for a minute, but yeah, hopefully you guys learned something. Glad to share the time with you. Till next time, yeah, we'll talk soon, guys.